Hello everyone, we welcome you all to this video analysis on the finance section of the RBI Phase 2 FM paper held on 7 July 2017. This analysis is presented to you by the EduTap, leader in RBI and NABARD Grade A, Grade B exams. So the points which we'll be discussing in this video is, first we will be discussing the breakup between finance and management portion in the FM paper, then the number of questions asked from each topic in finance, marks breakup for each topic, and then individual analysis of each topic, whether the questions asked from that topic were tough, easy, out of the syllabus, within the syllabus, etc., and how many of the questions could be answered from EduTap Notes. Then we will follow it by major insights which could be gathered from this year's paper, followed by the study technique. Since the actual paper is not released by RBI, our methodology for analysis this year has been that we have conducted workshops with the RBI aspirants who attempted phase 2 exam this year and who were EduTap students. But still this is a memory based analysis, so there can be some deviations from the actual paper, though we still claim that this is the best memory based analysis you will get online on the FM paper for 2017, and we are able to replicate paper worth 94 marks. Rest 6 marks worth of paper has been extrapolated on the same lines under certain assumptions. The paper or the replica of the paper for RBI Grade B Phase 2 2017 FM is available on our website www.edutap.co.in. There is also a video on our YouTube channel in which we discuss this paper along with questions, their options and the answers. In this video we also show that how many questions were from EduTap Notes, and we give evidence that where in our notes the same concept or fact was discussed. Now coming to our results, this year we have got some very good results. Till 22nd of July, almost 103 people have confirmed that they have got the interview call, and by the time this video goes live, I think the number will increase to around 120 to 130. This is our expectations because many students have not still reported their results. Either they are busy or they are too excited. So this is indeed a proud moment for EduTap because this was just our first year. And we have indeed produced some good results, and we wish best of luck to our students also who have got the interview call. It is only due to their dedication and hard work that they have reached so far. Now let's start with the breakup on finance and management portion. The finance and management portion in FM, as we all know, contributes 100 marks, out of which 55 marks worth of paper came from finance and 45 marks worth of paper came from management. So this breakup is almost similar to the last year, and finance will always take a lead in the coming years also because that is more important with respect to RBI Grade B exam. Now coming to the point that how EduTap online course contributed to the success of the students. Well, we have analyzed it thoroughly and we found that around 41 marks worth of paper out of total 55 from finance was from our notes, and in management part total 31 marks worth of paper out of 45 was from EduTap Notes. So that is a huge percentage. Around 72 marks worth of paper in the FM paper out of total of 100 marks was from our notes. We do not claim that those are very direct questions since every exam has conceptual questions, but if you would have read our notes, you would have been able to answer many of the questions very easily, and some of the questions by applying concepts given in our notes. And to going forward, in this video we shall only discuss about the finance section. For management section, we have done the analysis in a separate video which is available on our YouTube channel by the name EduTap. At the end of this video also, we are giving you a link of video which is having analysis on the management section, on which you can click and view the analysis on the management. To start with the analysis, we will first list out the topics in the finance section as per RBI syllabus. There are a lot of topics. From some topics questions came in the exam, and from some topics there were no questions in the exam. This will happen every year because the syllabus is so vast and the paper setter will just have 55 marks in his kitty, so he cannot set questions from all the topics. But still, I think the questions was pretty much set from all the important topics and from some unimportant topics also. So the topics from which questions came in the exam were financial inclusion and alternate sources of finance, accounting and time value of money, derivatives, primary and secondary markets, risk management, corporate governance in banks, miscellaneous and budget, banking system in India and regulations, changing landscape in the banking sector, and fiscal policy. And the topics from which no question came in the exam were recent developments in the financial sector, portfolio investment, public sector reforms, and disinvestments. Now this part, recent developments in the financial sector, is little ambiguous when we say there was no question from this part, because there is a topic changing landscape in the banking sector. So we have put some questions under this head, changing landscape in the banking sector, but those can also be put into under the head recent developments in the financial sector. Private and social cost benefit is another topic from which no question came. Public-private partnership, no question came from this topic also. Role of e-governance and corruption, also from these two topics no question came. And surprisingly, we were expecting some questions on inflation, but no question came from inflation this year in the finance part. So now we will analyze the marks breakup for each topic in the FM part. So the most marks were contributed by primary and secondary markets, which contributed around 12 marks, which is understandable because this is a very vast topic, and this also consists of bonds, which is a favorite topic of RBI. Then time value of money contributed 7 marks, little higher above the expectations. Changing landscape in banking sector contributed 4 marks, always an important topic. Derivatives contributed 5 marks. Expected to last year it contributed just 1 mark. Out of syllabus there were 5 marks worth of paper. Then financial inclusion contributed 2 marks. Again, this is an important topic after demonetization. Fiscal policy contributed 8 marks. This was a bit surprising because fiscal policy is the important topic, but we expect questions asked from this topic from the ESI part. But they have contributed 8 marks worth of paper from fiscal policy in the finance part. So that was a bit unexpected, but it was still within the syllabus. Fiscal policy is part of finance syllabus. Risk management, there was paper worth 3 marks. Accounting ratios, surprising. Last year there were a lot of paper from this topic, around 10 to 13 marks, but this year only 3 marks. Banking system, 2 marks worth of paper. Alternate sources of finance, 2 marks. Again surprising, this is not that much an important topic, but still 2 marks worth of paper came from this topic, and others contributed 2 marks. But overall, a balanced paper. We are happy to see such a balanced paper, especially the marks distribution, the important topics contributing more and the lesser important topics contributing less. 5 marks worth of paper came out of 55 in finance was out of syllabus. That is also, I think, very decent as per RBI pattern, because they always want to give some surprise, and 5 marks worth of paper out of 55 is not much of a surprise. Now, what about the 1 marker and 2 markers in finance? Well, in finance it's entirely the opposite of what happened in management. In finance it was more of 2 markers which ruled the roost as compared to 1 markers. There were only 7 1 marker questions in finance, and most of the questions in finance were 2 markers. Now guys, when we say this or we distinguish between 1 marker and 2 markers, let us emphasize on the fact that it is really difficult to distinguish between 1 markers and 2 markers, because students do not remember the marks. Though they remember the questions, they do not remember the marks exactly, that how much each question contributed in the exam. But still, based upon the discussion with the students, this is the analysis we have. But we will say that there can be some up and downs, like now number of 2 markers in finance can be 20 and number of 1 markers can be say 11 to 12. But overall the trend was that there were more 2 marker questions in finance than 1 markers, and in management there were more 1 marker questions as compared to 2 markers. Total questions were 31, and total marks contributed by finance, as we discussed, were 55 in the FM paper. Now, topic wise breakup of 1 mark and 2 marker questions. We have already discussed how much each topic contributed. So primary and secondary topic, as we discussed, contributed 12 marks, and how many 1 marker and 2 marker questions was from each topic. In primary and secondary topic there were 2 1 marker questions. So these dark blue lines are 1 markers and the light blue lines are 2 markers. So you can see there are a lot of light blue lines, which again just emphasize the fact that there were a lot of 2-marker questions in the exam. From primary and secondary market, there were 5 2-marker questions. From time value of money, there were 3 2-markers and 1 1-marker. From derivatives, there were 3 2-markers, sorry, 2 2-markers and 1 1-marker. From the out of syllabus part, there were 2 2-markers, 1 1-marker. Changing landscape in the banking sector, there was 2 2-markers. Fiscal policy, there were 4 2-markers. Risk management, 1 each on 1 marker and 2 marker. Accounting ratios, 1 each on 1 marker and 2 marker. Banking system in India, 1 2 marker. Alternate sources of finance, 1 question, that is 2 marker. Financial inclusion, 1 question, 2 marker, and others 1 question and 2 markers. So we see that primary and secondary markets contributed mostly in the 2 marks questions, and in fact the most, especially the bonds part. Surprising element was lesser questions from accounting ratios this year, as we discussed previously, because last year the accounting ratios section dominated the paper, and also there was questions from lesser important topics such as financial inclusion, alternate sources of finance, etc. Questions from time value of money and fiscal policy were rather more than expected. Time value of money contributing 7 marks and fiscal policy contributing 8 marks is more than expected, considering that they could have put paper from other important topics also by increasing their respective weightage. Now we will do individual analysis for each topic. We will start with the analysis on the financial inclusion topic, from which there was one question which was of 2 marks. The question was on scope of financial services. This was a very good question in my point of view. For the details of the question, you can go to our website and view the paper there. This question was from EduTap Notes. Could have been very well attempted from if you would have read our notes. Question from this topic, I would say, was of moderate difficulty because it has confusing choices. Otherwise, the question was very easy. And this is not that important topic, and only one question worth 2 marks, I think, is a very decent thing. So no surprises here. Then we move on to the analysis of topic alternate sources of finance. Here also there was one question worth 2 marks on peer-to-peer lending. Again, we have very well explained peer-to-peer lending in our notes, and anyone who would have read even once on peer-to-peer lending in our notes, he would have answered this question very easily. So all the questions were from syllabus. Question was of moderate difficulty, we would say, due to confusing choices again. But the question could be easily answered from EduTap Notes. This is again not an important topic, and one question worth 2 marks is as per expectation. Then we move on to the next topic, which is banking system in India. Now from this topic, there was one question of 2 marks, which was a numerical on the concept of incremental CRR. And this question was not from our notes. We have not discussed this concept in our notes. This question was based on incremental CRR, which came into picture after demonetization. We will not go into the details by explaining you what incremental CRR is, but this question was a very well framed question. Hats off to the person who framed this question. Very conceptual question, and I think RBI exam need to have such type of questions. The question, I would say, was tough. Though it was conceptual, it was tough because it was not expected. Most of the people did it, so it was a catch. The question had a catch. Many people did it in one way, many people did it in another way. So everyone has their own answers. Typically these questions are always confusing. So we will not go which is the right or the wrong answer, but in short, the numerical on incremental CRR was not expected, but it came, and it was a very good, well-framed question. Then we move on to the next topic, which is analysis of accounting ratios topic. From this topic, there were 2 questions, one of 1 mark, another of 2 mark. Both were from our notes. One question was on theoretical question on solvency ratios, very easy question. And another question was a numerical on ROCE. Again, it was not that tough question, but numericals are always tough in the exam. A kind of, you have a phobia which makes you fearful of the numericals. That's why many people say the numerical was tough, but it was not that tough. So both the questions were concept based. One question was of easy difficulty level and another was of moderate difficulty level. Both the questions could be answered from our notes, and only two questions were 3 marks from this topic was little below expectations, because last year accounting ratios contributed around 13 marks worth of paper, and really it's a very important topic. I will not be surprised if next year they bounce back and put paper worth 10 to 12 marks again from the accounting ratios topic. But I think not putting much from this topic also shows the maturity of RBI, because they have tried to make paper balanced rather than any one topic being dominant. Next, we move on to the analysis of risk management topic. There were two questions from this topic. One was of 2 mark and another one was of 1 mark. Both the questions were from EduTap Notes. The question which was of 2 mark was a numerical, in which it was asked to find the capital adequacy ratio based on RBI and Basel norms. This was a very good question. I remember a lot of students asking me before the exam that, sir, if we are asked to calculate capital adequacy ratio in the exam, should we calculate it based on RBI norms or as per Basel norms? And I always used to say that it would be given in the exam, it would be mentioned in the exam which one you have to choose. And here they are, they have asked both as per RBI norms and as per Basel norms. Hats off to the person who put this question. Very good question, very conceptual question. And then there was a question on systematic risk. Very easy question. I think most of you would have answered that who appeared for phase 2. If anybody would not have answered this in spite of appearing in phase 2, then I think that person was not prepared. He needs to work really hard next time. Overall, I think with respect to marks distribution of this topic, it was good, decent, but maybe exam setter could have set one more question from this topic, as NPAs is a hot topic right now. But that's okay. I mean, exam setter cannot also fulfill the fantasies of everyone, including me. So overall, as per expectation, I would say. So next we move to the analysis of fiscal policy topic. There were a total of 4 questions from this topic, all of 2 marks. And 2 questions were from EduTap Notes and 2 questions were not from EduTap Notes. So the 2 questions were concept-based questions on capital account. These were from EduTap Notes. These were again a good questions, but if you knew the concept, you could have answered these questions. Another 2 question marker was on reduction in import quota. This is also very decent question with confusing choices. This was not given in our notes because this was related to 1990s. Then there was a question on how does government refinance its excess expenditure. This was a very good question. This was also not directly in our notes. This was a 2 marker questions, but many of our students have answered this because they have cleared concepts. But still, we do not claim it to be from our notes. Overall, I think 3 questions were tough and 1 was easy. Question on reduction in import quota was a question from 1990s event, but I think most of the people have read about this here or there, and that's why they were able to attempt this question. The question on capital account could be answered from our notes. Little unexpected with respect to marks distribution on this topic. 8 marks worth of paper from fiscal policy. I think it's a huge contribution by fiscal policy in this paper. I think they could have put these questions on fiscal policy in the ESI also rather than putting into finance, because in finance there are a lot of other topics also in which they should have tested the pure financial knowledge of the person. Then we move on to the topic analysis of changing landscape in the banking sector. There were 2 questions from this topic. Both were 2 markers and both were from our notes. And both questions could have been easily cracked if you would have read our notes. The question on payment and small finance bank asked you to differentiate between payment and small finance bank. And the question on UPI was also very easy. Both payment and small finance banks and UPI were in news, so I think this was on expected lines. Question on changing landscape in banking sector would always be from the current affairs. That's what you mean by changing landscape, right? So again, very good questions, decent questions from our notes, could have been easily attempted if you would have read our notes. Next we move on to the analysis of derivatives topic. This topic last year contributed only 1 mark worth of paper, but this year we were sure that it should and rather contribute more, and here we are, it contributed around 5 marks worth of paper. So there were total of 3 questions. 2 questions were of 1 mark, and 1 question was of 1 mark. All questions were from EduTap Notes. All questions were conceptual. There was a numerical on futures trading using margin money, which was a very good question, very conceptual question, and hats off to the person who framed this question. And then there was another question on futures and forwards trade mechanism. This was a very simple question, and then there was a question on price risk transfer, again a very simple question. So this was, I think, the most scoring topic according to me. Very basic questions. If you would have basic understanding of derivatives, you would have cracked this, all the 3 questions. Next, we move on to the analysis of time value of money topic. Last year it contributed 1 numerical worth 1 mark, but I think this year it contributed more. There were total 4 questions from this topic, 3 of 2 marks and 1 of 1 marks, and 3 of them were from EduTap Notes. First question was on finding the present value of the investment. This is very easy question, it could have been easily done. Then there was question of rate of return on investment which quadruples in 16 years. This was again easy question, but without calculator and without rule of 72 it was little tough. Then there was question on number of years required for investment to double at 8% per annum using rule of 72. This was just based on, if you knew the rule of 72 you could have easily done it, but otherwise the calculations were very lengthy and without calculator it was really tough to solve this question. Then there was one question on annuity which was very easy. So on and whole, all the questions were from syllabus. Without calculator it was tough to solve 1 or 2 questions, and one should have really known the rule of 72. All the questions could be considered from our notes, but since rule of 72 was not given, we consider only 3 questions from our notes. But rule of 72 is a very basic thing. If you pick up the textbook of 7th or 8th, it was taught to us in that class. So many people knew this, but still we tend to forget things over a period of time. So even those who didn't knew this, they had a hard time, but some of them were still able to solve this with manual calculations. They got it right also, but on the other hand we have some people who, even in spite of trying manual calculations, were not able to solve it. So bad luck to them. 4 questions from this topic is little above expectation, since there are many other important topics from which more questions could have been framed, but we can take it as element of surprise this year, which I think is a decent surprise. Now, analysis of primary and secondary markets. This topic contributed the most in the paper, around 12 marks worth of paper, but that is expected because bonds is also part of this topic, and bonds is the favorite topic of RBI. So there were total of 8 questions from this topic. No, 7 questions from this topic. 5 were 2 markers and 2 were 2 markers, and most of the questions were from EduTap Notes except this one. Let's see what were the questions. First was the question in primary and secondary markets. Very easy questions. Cakewalk. Assumptions in IRR, very easy questions. Cakewalk again. Then was a question on consoles. Well, consoles are type of bonds which used to be traded in by the British government or in England. I don't know why they put up this question. This is, according to me, is an irrelevant question in the exam, but still, and this was not in our notes. Then there was a question on present value of zero coupon bond, the definition of zero coupon bonds, then the regulation or disclosure of financial statements, that who regulates this. Then there was another question on zero coupon bonds. So all in all, I would say that yes, this topic deserves 12 marks worth of paper because this is a very important topic. And even when you join RBI as RBI Grade B officer, you need to have very good understanding of this topic. One question was easy, I would say. Rest were moderate. All the questions could be answered from our notes, as I said, except the question on console. And the marks distribution from this topic, though high, is as per our expectation. Now we move to some insights. So with respect to difficulty level of the exam, 17 questions were of moderate level and they contributed 33 marks. 10 questions were of easy level and they contributed 15 marks. 4 questions were tough and they contributed 7 marks. But overall, I would say the paper was more on a moderate difficulty level, and that also may be due to the rule of 72, which kind of perturb people. If they would have got those questions right with calculator, I think it was a win-win situation for everyone, and paper would have termed as easy. But the point is, even solving 70% of easy to moderate paper would have fetched you 30 to 35 marks, which I think is very good. Because in our management video also, we have stressed upon the same fact that if you would have given around 80 to 85% accuracy on easy to moderate questions, you would have got 30. And if you would have got 30 to 35 here, you would have fetched 60 to 65, which I think is a good score. It might not be sufficient for the final selection, but still it will surely get you an interview call. And 4 or 5 marks above this, I think you then stand a good chance to clear the interview and the final merit list also. Then insights 2 is on the dominant sections. This we've already discussed. The point is that we feel that it was a pretty balanced paper, no one section dominating just outrightly. Yes, primary and secondary markets contributed 12 marks, but it deserves it. Though yes, time value of money, fiscal policy contributed more marks than they should have. But then again, it's not something really, really unexpected and out of the bounds that it should not happen, not like this. So that's okay. This much is bound to happen in every paper. Insights 3 on out of syllabus and side topics. So there was total of 5 marks worth of paper which can be called out of syllabus or side topics. The number of questions that were easy can be termed as 2 and moderate as 1. So total 3 questions contributing 5 marks from out of syllabus or side topics, but out of that 2 questions were easy and 1 was moderate. The out of syllabus questions were asked from topics like capital budgeting, that is NPV and cost of capital. Also there was one question on mutual funds. Mutual funds, there was question last year also, so I think most of the people would have read mutual funds this year, but NPV and cost of capital, there were no questions last year. But I agree with the exam setter that these type of questions should have been answered by the people because they were very basic questions. They just tested your concepts. They were no very lengthy numericals. But still they were out of questions. But I think next year one should prepare for these topics. These are important topics from finance perspective. And we shall also be covering both these topics in our notes. This year we were not able to cover them. Reading out of syllabus topics or remotely related topics could give you an edge. That is the main point. That like if one could have solved these questions on NPV and cost of capital, then he would have definitely an edge over others when it comes to the final selection. I remember one of my student who just missed the last year's selection by 0.5 marks. She read these topics just 2 days before the exam, NPV and cost of capital, and she was able to solve both the questions. And she's expecting above 70 in finance and management. So that is really something that will put her in the driving seat. Just to reiterate that, read all the remotely connected topics to the main topics. That will really help you to counter any unexpected thing in the exam. Then insight 4 is the numerical weightage. There is a misconception. I think that there were very less numerical this year. Most of the people are saying that, but maybe the numerical this year were not actually calculation based, but were concept based. So I think most of the people felt that they were not actually lengthy numericals, and that's why they are saying that there were very less numericals this year. There were total of 9 numerical, 8 2 marks and 1 mark. So total of 17 marks, which is lesser than last year, that is 19 marks. But still 17 marks is no less contribution out of 55 marks. I think it's a pretty decent distribution, and we expected that around 17 to 22 marks worth of paper would be from numericals. So I think that's okay, that's good. Now, from which all topics the numerical were asked? The numerical were asked from banking system in India. This was a numerical on CRR, incremental CRR. Time value of money, we have already discussed. There were a lot of numericals. Risk management, accounting ratios, derivatives, primary and secondary markets, bonds. And there were some numericals asked from out of syllabus also. That is the numericals on NPV and cost of capital, which we discussed in the previous part of this video. So the point is that do not hesitate to cover all the possible numerical topics. Sometimes people tend to know that, sir, tell us only 3 to 4 numerical topics which are important because we find numerical stuff. That is not the right attitude, guys. You need to cover all the numerical topics, but you need not go into depth. Just touch them at the base, cover a little more, and you shall be ready to go for the exam. The more you read, the better it is. And on some topics you need not go into depth, but on certain topics you need not, you need to go into depth. Remember this. And that selectivity you will learn only after you start preparing and you are thorough with the content. Then you will learn that okay, this seems to be important, this is not important. Insight 5. This year there was no use of calculator allowed, which means that you need to practice more and more with your hands. That is, you need to do calculations with your hands rather than using the calculator just to prepare for the worst case. Though this year calculator was not allowed, but the questions also did not require lengthy or complex calculations, but they asked you to use the rule of 72. If you didn't know the rule of 72, you were bound to do it by normal calculating method, and without calculator it was tough. But if you had practice without calculator before the exam, maybe you could have solved those questions. So we are saying that just try to practice without calculator at home before the exam to prepare for the worst case. But anyways, if one knew the concept of or rule of 72 and rule of 144, then one or two questions were very easy. They could have been easily correct. Now coming to the main point, numerical this year were concept based rather than calculation based, which require you to use the calculator. So anyone solving questions by doing normal calculations without calculator was wasting time. But then you didn't have choice because you didn't knew the rule of 72 or 144. But for next year, I think the point is focus more on concepts rather than on lengthy calculations. Yes, in numericals also they are based on concepts. There is a theory behind that. Understand that theory. Make your concepts clear and then try to practice questions which are numericals but still which check your concepts and involve some easy calculations. Well, after discussing all these insights, let's discuss what should be the study technique for the finance part of the FM paper. Guys, the finance is very vast. You can refer books. There are a lot of books. People refer Prasanna Chandra, people refer I.M. Pandey, B.V. Rustagi, Pathak. But reading all these books shall be wastage of time if you start reading them cover to cover, topic to topic, because these are very vast books. These are meant for experts. If you start reading these books after 8 to 10 chapters, you will find that it is not going to end anywhere. You will require 6 months to cover one book, because those are meant for experts, and RBI do not want you to be experts right at the start of the exam. Maybe after you clear RBI Grade B Phase 2 exam, they shall train you. So the point is one should read and understand the important part from important books in a selective manner, right? And that selectivity you will learn only after you keep reading. And in our course we give a lot more attention to selectivity and building the concepts. That is all you need. Okay. And just to inform you all, maybe you would have known by this time if you have seen this video late that we have launched our RBI Grade B 2018 course. It shall be more customized than ever. It shall be more relevant to you, keeping into account that we are adding many more topics. We are also including videos on all the topics, and it shall be more comprehensive in terms of that we shall be giving you more exercises, more questions to test yourself, to learn to apply your learned concepts and be prepared for the exam. There is a detailed video on the offerings of our course on our YouTube channel which you can view. Also at the end of this video you will get a link to the video which will give you details about the offerings of our 2018 course. Now why EduTap? In spite of so many people who enrolled in our course clearing phase 2 exam, 72 marks worth of paper in FM coming from our notes, still if you doubt that why should you join EduTap, to you personally I think what matters is that there should be someone who monitors your progress regularly and gives you feedback, and there should be someone to which you to which to or rather to whom you can go and seek advice, help, support, guidance, assistance, tips for the exam. That is very important, right? In the end, it is all your effort which will matters. We can provide you good notes, we can give you good guidance, but it's your effort which will prevail. And for guidance, tips, support, help, we are there for you. Okay, so that is our main strength. And we also provide individual counseling over phone, over email, which you can call us anytime. And people did call us last time, they did discuss their problems with us for half an hour, for an hour even. And we are happy to resolve their problems because this is what matters. That's why we exist. We are there for you. And we already have a mobile app on the Android platform. You can just download it by going to Google Play Store, and by using that you can learn anywhere, anytime, while you are in the office or you're traveling. You can call us at 8146207241 if you have any query, or you can email us at learnofy@gmail.com. We will be happy to address all your queries, even if you are a paid subscriber of our course, or even if you are doing self preparation. Well, that was about analysis on the finance paper. If you want to see our analysis on the management paper for the 2017 exam, you can click here. If you want to see our course offerings for the 2018 exam, you can click here. And if you want to access some sample free material or want to access memory based 2017 paper, then you can sign up on our website by clicking here.